The Wolf of Wall Street is a black comedy crime drama directed by Martin Scorsese based on the true story of Jordan Belfort, a stockbroker who rose to enormous wealth and notoriety through financial fraud and excessive indulgence. This fast-paced, darkly humorous film showcases the heights of wealth and the moral decay that can accompany unchecked ambition. Starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill, and Margot Robbie, the movie dives into a world of greed, corruption, and the hedonistic lifestyle that Jordan Belfort created for himself and his firm. The film begins with Jordan Belfort, Leonardo DiCaprio, narrating his initial dreams of success on Wall Street. Coming from a modest background, he arrives in New York with ambitions to make a fortune. Belfort starts his career at a respected Wall Street brokerage firm, L.F. Rothschild, where he learns the ins and outs of stock trading. However, his time at Rothschild is cut short by the 1987 stock market crash, which costs him his job. Unfazed, Belfort takes a job selling penny stocks at a small firm in Long Island, where he discovers how easily he can manipulate the stock market. These penny stocks, highly speculative and typically worthless, offer him a high commission rate, and Belfort's skill as a salesman quickly brings in significant profits. Inspired by his newfound success, Belfort opens his own brokerage firm, Stratton Oakmont, alongside Donnie Azoff, Jonah Hill, a quirky but loyal partner. Together, they create an empire that preys on wealthy investors with promises of extraordinary returns. The rise of Stratton Oakmont. Under Belfort's leadership, Stratton Oakmont quickly grows into one of the most notorious and lucrative brokerage firms in the country. He recruits an eccentric team of friends and acquaintances, training them to sell aggressively and without scruples. The office atmosphere at Stratton Oakmont is chaotic and morally bankrupt, filled with wild parties, drugs, and sex. Belfort becomes a mentor to his employees, teaching them to prioritize profit above all else and to adopt his lifestyle of excess. As Belfort's wealth grows, so does his appetite for luxury and debauchery. He buys a mansion, a yacht, exotic animals, and expensive cars, living a life of unrestrained hedonism. His charisma and ruthless business practices earn him the nickname the Wolf of Wall Street. Despite the success, he remains focused on manipulating stocks and cheating investors, all to maintain his wealth and indulge in a lifestyle of non-stop excess. Belfort's personal life also spirals into extravagance. He divorces his first wife and marries Naomi LaPaglia, Margot Robbie, a stunning model who becomes his partner in crime. However, the wealth and power only intensify his addictions to drugs and reckless behavior. The downward spiral. Belfort's extravagant lifestyle and financial fraud eventually attract the attention of the FBI. Special Agent Patrick Denham, Kyle Chandler, begins investigating Stratton Oakmont's suspicious activities, focusing on their involvement in securities fraud and money laundering. Belfort, aware of the investigation, tries to cover his tracks, but his ego and arrogance prevent him from taking the FBI seriously. To evade authorities, Belfort attempts to hide his money in offshore accounts and enlist Swiss bankers to launder his funds. However, his greed and trust in untrustworthy associates lead to several close calls. His life of indulgence also begins to take a toll on his health and personal relationships. His marriage with Naomi becomes strained due to his infidelities and erratic behavior caused by his drug use. One of the film's most infamous scenes illustrates the extent of Belfort's addiction. While high on Quaaludes, he loses control of his body and struggles to get into his car, barely able to function. This scene highlights the physical and moral degradation he undergoes in pursuit of his lavish lifestyle. The fall of the wolf. Despite his attempts to evade law enforcement, Belfort's actions eventually catch up with him. One of his closest associates, Brad Bodnick, John Bernthal, is arrested, and several of his partners begin to turn on him to secure their freedom. Belfort's sense of invincibility begins to wane as he realizes that his empire is collapsing. With mounting pressure from the FBI, Belfort agrees to cooperate and become an informant. However, he hesitates to betray his friends and employees, many of whom he had considered family. His moral compass is warped, but the reality of his situation forces him to make hard decisions. In a final act of self-preservation, Belfort ultimately betrays his colleagues to reduce his sentence. This betrayal marks the end of his empire. Stratton Oakmont is dismantled, and Belfort is stripped of his wealth, power, and freedom. His assets are seized, and he faces prison time for his crimes. Conclusion: the film closes with Belfort's release from prison. Having lost everything, he attempts to rebuild his life by becoming a motivational speaker, capitalizing on his experiences and charisma to teach sales techniques. The irony is thick. After all his misdeeds, he is still focused on the art of selling, unable to fully separate from the world of persuasion and manipulation that once defined him. The Wolf of Wall Street ultimately offers a darkly comedic look at the consequences of unchecked ambition and moral corruption. It serves as both a cautionary tale and a reflection on the allure of wealth and power. Themes and analysis. The Wolf of Wall Street explores themes of greed, excess, and the moral corruption that often accompanies extreme wealth. Belfort's life represents the darker side of the American dream, the pursuit of success at any cost. His journey is one of moral degradation as he sacrifices everything, including personal relationships and ethical principles, for financial gain. The film is also a satire on Wall Street culture, highlighting the reckless and unethical behavior that can thrive in the financial world. Scorsese's direction and DiCaprio's performance portray Belfort not as a hero, but as a deeply flawed anti-hero, someone driven by a dangerous mix of charisma, ambition, and a lack of moral restraint. Another critical aspect of the film is its unflinching portrayal of addiction, both to substances and to power. Belfort's life of excess leads to a deep psychological dependence on wealth, status, and control, which ultimately contributes to his downfall. Despite the film's dark themes, it is filled with humor and irony. Belfort's story is told with a mix of admiration and condemnation, capturing the viewer's attention with its bold storytelling and outrageous scenes. The viewer is left questioning the allure of wealth and whether the high price of achieving it is ever worth the cost. The Wolf of Wall Street is a dynamic, thrilling, and unsettling look at the life of a man consumed by greed and excess. It serves as a reminder of the moral compromises that can accompany extreme wealth and the dangers of a lifestyle driven by insatiable ambition. Belfort's rise and fall remind us of the fragility of success built on lies and the consequences of losing sight of ethics in the pursuit of personal gain.